Hello everyone, my name is Claire Greer and I'd like to welcome you to the first in our series of Firefly webinars. I'd just like to also add that I hope there won't be too much confusion over the presence of three different Claires here today. We'll try our best to be as clear as we possibly can. So today our clinical manager Clare Canale and our digital community manager Claire Smyth will talk you through the process of using Upsee as a therapeutic tool as it's outlined in our recently launched Upsee Therapy Programme. Clare Canale led the team of experts involved in devising the programme. Claire Smyth has used the Upsee with her son Daniel for 3 years now, and together the two Claires are working on documenting Daniel's progress following Upsee use. We hope that this webinar will give you the chance to ask us any questions you have about Upsee and the Upsee Therapy Programme, as well as giving you the confidence and the motivation to use Upsee. If you feel there's something that we haven't covered throughout the webinar Q&A session, please send an email to upsee.program@fireflyfriends.com. So Clare Canale is going to start the webinar off by introducing the programme and explaining how the International Classification of Functioning Disability and Health for Children and Youth model relates to Firefly by Leckey. She'll then go on to cover the development of the MAP model, and then Claire Smyth will pick up on how to use the Upsee Therapy Programme with your child or with your client. At the end of the session, we'll aim to answer as many of your questions as possible, and if there are any that we don't manage to cover within the time, we will follow up with you afterwards. So now I'll hand you over to Clare Canale.
Disability as it gives respect and dignity to the child and their family. At the top of the model you will see the health condition. This is the state of the health of the child or their diagnosis, what they are able to do as well as what they have difficulty with. In the middle layer we have body functions and structures, which are the physical functions of the body system and the anatomical parts of the body, what they can do and where there are limitations. Activities are the tasks the child is able to do, and participation refers to life situations the child is involved with. The bottom layer of the model is environmental factors, which are the physical, social and cultural environments in which families live, along with personal factors, which are the influences on functioning particular to the individual child or family. As the diagram shows, all the components are interrelated. A child's health condition influences their body functions and structures, their ability to carry out daily activities, and their ability to participate, while at the same time being influenced by environmental and personal factors in the context of each family's unique circumstances. And this is the basis of our Firefly map. Between the ICF and Firefly, we wanted to join the two together. So our vision for Firefly is to create a world where every child with special needs can enjoy a childhood filled with play, participation and possibilities. At Firefly we are unable to influence a child's health condition or environment, but we believe that Firefly products can influence body structures, activities and participation. That leads us on to the development of the map, and we'll explain that to you now. We believe that the design and manufacture of our products can influence mobility, which is our term for the activities that we saw in the ICF-CY. We also like to think that we can influence ability, which is the same as body functions and structures on the ICF-CY, and participation, which is very similar. This is the Firefly map with the child and family firmly at the centre of everything that we do. To define our terms a little further, we think that mobility is a child being able to access their world and gain as much independence as possible. So for example, using a product to stretch muscles, similar to body functions and structures in the ICF-CY, can improve mobility, and products which move encourage mobility as well. Ability is defined by us as improving physical, cognitive and social development. So for example, encouraging the child to develop hand function, concentration or communication, all activities in the ICF-CY using a product from us enhances their ability. Participation is defined by us as being able to experience as many activities as possible, and all Firefly products are designed with family participation in mind. So, now you know the background to the development of our Upsee Therapy Programme, I'm going to hand you over to our third Claire, our parent panellist, to tell you more about the programme itself.
Hi everyone, it's Claire Smyth here. I'm a special needs parent to Daniel, who is now 7 and has profound and multiple learning difficulties due to an undiagnosed genetic condition. In today's webinar, I'm going to talk you through how to use the Upsee Therapy Programme. Daniel and I were the first parent and child trial of the Upsee prototype, starting back in 2013 when Daniel was just 4. It's been really interesting for me to see the development of the Upsee Therapy Programme and to have had an opportunity to give my feedback from a parent's perspective. I'm really excited about this resource and that it's now available for parents and children currently using the Upsee and for those who are about to purchase their first Upsee. I think I would have really benefited from it when we first started using the Upsee with Daniel. The aim of the Upsee Therapy Programme is to show you how the Upsee can be used as a potential therapy tool and to suggest activities which may improve or maintain a child's mobility, ability and participation. But it's also to encourage you, families of kids with special needs and your therapists to see the possible benefits of the Upsee beyond just mobility using our MAP model. I'm now going to talk you through the key elements of the Upsee Therapy Programme, which are MAP Mobility Assessment and Review, MAP Activity Programme, MAP Ability Assessment, Ability Activity Suggestions, and finally Participation Activity Suggestions. What you're seeing on the screen at the moment is the MAP Mobility Assessment, which can be found on page 38 to 39 in the booklet or on the download. I know everybody wants to get started immediately with their Upsee and start enjoying stepping together with your child. But to accurately assess your child's starting point, we would really encourage you just to stand still for the first couple of times you use the Upsee. Take time to observe your child's reactions, and don't forget it may take more than a couple of trials. We all have off days, and the Upsee is a completely new experience for both you and your child. So once you've had a few goes with the Upsee, use pages 38 to 39 in the book to record your child's 3 mobility goals, beginning with number 1, which is head control. Mark the date against the stage your child is at. So, for example, if your child is able to lift his or her head but unable to achieve a full upright position over their body, then they are at stage 2. Mark the date highlighted in green against the stage which is highlighted in blue on your screen. Then move on to mobility goal 2, which is weight bearing. This is where we think about what stage your child is at in terms of weight bearing. Again, there are 5 different stages, and it's really important to be honest when assessing your child's mobility so that you can set realistic goals and really see the progress that's being made. Don't forget to mark the date against the stage your child is at. And finally, mobility goal 3, which is walking pattern. There are 3 sections in this final goal: full help from an adult, some help from an adult, or using the Upsee without sandals. Most parents and therapists will have an idea of what stage the child will be at. However, some children can really surprise us with the Upsee. So in your initial sessions with the Upsee, you can begin to gauge if you're looking at moving through the stages with full help, some help, or perhaps you've progressed straight to using the Upsee without sandals at all. In my experience with Daniel, I definitely found an overlap in the walking pattern stages. So we started at full help. Then as we moved on, there were occasions when we moved into needing only some help, and we slowly moved out of full help, and there was a crossover with using some help and then not using foot plates at all. This is why it's so important to use the date section so you can keep a record of the stages your child has achieved. It will really help keep you both motivated. Once you have assessed your child's MAP mobility starting point, we can now move on to a specific worksheet for the MAP activity programme, and you can find these on pages 40 through to 48 in the booklet or download. There is a worksheet for head control, one for weight bearing, and one for each of the walking pattern types: full help, some help, and no sandals. Within each worksheet, we work on 3 areas. So these are mobility activities, ability activities, and participation activities. Mobility is always about improving movement and independence. Ability works on improving physical, cognitive, and social development. And finally, participation highlights activities that enable as many experiences as possible. On screen at the moment, you're seeing the worksheet for head control. Fill in the stage you're at, then work through the preset activities in the green, pink, and purple boxes. As well as tracking your child's progress on the MAP mobility assessment, it would also be very worthwhile to consider any additional improvement in your child's development during your time using the Upsee. So families currently using the Upsee have reported seeing improvements in their child in other areas outside of head control, weight bearing, and walking pattern. We developed the MAP ability assessment, which you can find on page 56 of the booklet, as an additional tool to monitor your child's progress. Ability areas include hand function, floor play, communication, attention, exploration, and fun. To get the most out of your Upsee, the Upsee Therapy Programme comes packed full of ability activity suggestions. You can find these on pages 50 through to 53. Each activity shows a corresponding skill that is worked on with the activity. Although many of the activities can address almost all of the ability areas, so with the suggestions, we've highlighted the main benefits of each activity. On page 54 to 55 of the Upsee Therapy Guide, you will also find a useful list of participation suggestions, which will help you with the P section of the MAP, participation. So that brings me to the end of my explanation of the Upsee Therapy Programme. I'm going to hand you back to my colleague Claire Greer, who's going to talk you through keeping in touch with Firefly and letting us know how you and your child are doing with the programme. But before I finish, I just want to give a few words of encouragement. We started using the Upsee with Daniel 3 years ago this March. When we started using it, although he had good head control, he was not weight bearing at all or initiating any steps. At times, it felt like we were making little to no progress. On occasions, he was not in the mood to use the Upsee at all. But now, at 7 years of age, he can fully weight bear, maintain a stepping pattern without sandals, and he has also successfully moved into a walker and is making great progress with this. Back to me again then, everyone. I'd just like to touch quickly on how much we love for Upsee users to share their progress with us. Reviewing your own progress in Upsee is obviously really valuable, as it helps you to understand any effects that Upsee might be having on your child's development, and it can also help to keep you focused and to reflect on the progress that's been made. Sharing this progress with us in turn helps us to advise and guide other parents and therapists within the community, helping them to decide whether Upsee is the right choice for them. So there's guidance on what to send us on page 57 of the Upsee Therapy Programme. Upsee.programme, spelled PROGAMME, at fireflyfriends.com is the email address to send anything to, whether it's progress or questions. And finally, we'd also like to take the opportunity to follow up with some Upsee users as they start to use the Upsee Therapy Programme, in the hope that we can create some case histories and to just really monitor how well it's going for people. So if you would like to be involved in this, please again email upsee.program@fireflyfriends.com. You'll see just some of the points there on your screen are bits and pieces of what it would be great to send through. But if you need any guidance with that, please get in touch. So these are just some of the other resources. You'll find additional resources in the therapist section of fireflyfriends.com. If you just go into the Upsee product guide and into useful downloads, you'll see lots there. And you can also download the program from the Upsee page on fireflyfriends.com/Upsee. These are then just some of the references from our webinar that we've used, and that really takes us to any questions that everybody has. So there is the little question bar there on your screen, and we've got a few different questions in, and I'm just going to read a few out now and divide them between the two Claires depending on what's suitable for whom. And if you have any others, please just feel free to type them in. And if we don't get to everybody, as I said earlier on, at the minute, please do email them through to us, and somebody will reply to you. So I think Claire Smyth, this is one for you. What if my child isn't making any progress with the Upsee Therapy Programme? I would just really say to keep at it, and just keep trying. Maybe if you find that it's been a very busy week for your child, they've had a lot of appointments on, they're maybe not feeling 100%, just leave it for a few days and keep coming back to it. There was periods of time when Daniel was very much just not in the mood to use the Upsee. The weather was bad, so he liked being out and about, so if that meant he wasn't really interested in using it inside the house. And again, I just keep coming back to the fact that we've been using it for 3 years now, so it really is a long-term commitment. So please just don't give up if you find in the first month that you're not seeing any progress. Keep going back to it, keep trying it again, and refer back to your Upsee Therapy Programme for lots of different ideas. Okay, thank you, Claire. What about this, maybe Claire for yourself, Clare Canale? Is there an option to get the Upsee in a school setting? It's difficult to get parents to get recommended equipment for their child, but if I had one as a school PT, it would be amazing.
That's a difficult one. Is that from Amber? Yes, Amber. It depends what part of the country you're in, really, or what country you're in, depending on what's available and how your healthcare system is set up. If you are able to, you can buy it yourself online, or you can ask your healthcare provider system to put an order through. But you could speak to our customer services, and we'll email you after the webinar at some stage with further details on how you can make those orders.
Okay, thank you, Claire. There's quite a few questions in relating to AFOs and CAFOs and knee stabilisers. So I just really wanted to address those in terms of our experience with Daniel. When we first started using the Upsee with Daniel, we used gaiters, so he wasn't able to bend his knees at all. And then very slowly we loosened the gaiters, so we were able to see if he was taking his own weight properly and bending his knees. We then moved away from the gaiters once we felt that he was able to weight bear sufficiently long enough, and he moved into AFOs. So I think with regards to the Upsee, the recommendation is that you continue to use any of the additional pieces of equipment that you would be using if you were using a standing frame with your child as well. So use your AFOs, use your CAFOs, and use your gaiters.
We have a question about the height of the child. If your child exceeds your waist height, they really are becoming too tall for you to use the Upsee safely with your child. It's really about stability for the two of you to be able to move together. So it's one of our 3 initial questions for Upsee use, that your child is within the height restrictions in relation to your height. So really, if your child is getting taller than your navel or your belly button, your only options are to find a taller adult to work with them in the Upsee, or not to use the Upsee at all, and that's primarily for the safety of you and your child.
So there's a question in that therapists seem concerned about children not using foot plates at times, and do you think it's beneficial for children to use with or without foot plates based on the child's progress? Again, I'm going to refer back to my experience with the Upsee with Daniel, and for us, he really just got to the stage that he wanted to initiate the steps himself, and really to give him some freedom and some control over that, we removed the foot plates, but his balance wasn't good enough that we could have used the Upsee without the harness. So at that stage for us and with Daniel, it was very beneficial not to use the foot plates. Our suggestion is, if you're new to the Upsee, that you definitely use the foot plates on your initial try and for your first number of goes until you find out at kind of what stage the child is at. Okay, there's another question here. Is it possible to have a digital form that can be filled in online? So I'm assuming that you're referring to the mobility assessment sheet and maybe the ability sheet as well. And the answer is that yes, those sheets are available to download. They aren't, it isn't possible to fill them in online, but you can download and print off additional ones from the therapist section on fireflyfriends.com. Those are available. Clare Canale, maybe one for yourself.
Yeah, go ahead. So we've got one. Can I get my child's physiotherapist to use the Upsee Therapy Guide too? Absolutely, we would encourage that where possible. What makes the Upsee use much more therapeutic is if you can work in partnership with your physical therapist, and if your physio or your physical therapist is happy to use the program, we'd be delighted if that would happen as well.
What about this one, Claire, then? Are there any particular conditions that the Upsee is more effective with? If high tone, for example, is a contraindication, would children with cerebral palsy affecting lower limbs generally be inappropriate for using the Upsee?
That's really a question of scale and the level of tone. What we recommend is that children with extremes of tone, either very high tone or very low tone, don't use the Upsee, but we have seen a lot of children with fairly high tone use the Upsee successfully. So no, we haven't found them to be inappropriate for using the Upsee. We also haven't found a typical diagnosis which has more success than others. What we suspect and what we're trying to get some research feedback on is that there's probably a window of opportunity for which children will make a period of faster progress, but obviously that window of opportunity is very much an individual one and really depends on parents and therapists working together to identify that.
Okay, and another one here, Claire Smyth. Can you help with this one? Does it happen that a parent hurts or can cause any damage to the child using Upsee? In some videos I've seen it, and it seems that perhaps the parent moves a little bit too much. Yes, we've seen similar videos, and it's very exciting to see children experiencing lots of new things, but we will be very clear on what the Upsee is intended to be used for and how it's used. Parents who use the Upsee inappropriately, okay, their children are maybe having fantastic experiences, but it wouldn't be what we would recommend, and we hope that they're making a decision based on knowing their child very well and feeling that it's a safe thing for their child to do. We have never received any reports of a child being hurt or injured as a result of the Upsee, and we hope that that continues with our guidance and our advice. if we see any videos where we think the parent has a very long stride pattern or is lifting their legs particularly high, we do get in touch with them and give them just a wee reminder about how to use the Upsee appropriately. We continually say you're stepping for your child, not for yourself, so you have to remember what your child's stepping pattern is, and that's what we will continue to do, and we'll put all those posts out on our Facebook page. We'll keep our website up to date, and where we see somebody using an Upsee that we feel is very inappropriate, we will comment on that. But our point is as well that we want children to have new experience and try new things. So parents have to make those decisions for their children in a safe environment.
I just want to add, there was the question earlier about the height of the child. I just want to clarify that it's the height of the child from their shoulders to your navel, not the total height of the child, which is the key point for the safety rule. So forgive me if I caused some confusion there. Someone has asked, when using without sandals, how do you avoid unintentional tripping over the child's feet? We haven't found this to be a problem. By this stage, when you're using the Upsee without the sandals, your child should be at least beginning to initiate steps by themselves. If their toe catches on the ground, you can actually place yourself where you can lean against a wall or a piece of furniture, and you can use your foot to help move your child's foot forward. But you wouldn't really be making any steps forward until your child is ready to make the stepping movements and take some forward movement by themselves.
Okay, Claire Smyth, I think another one for you there. How can I get to the correct length of the straps? We are not sure if they're too tight or too loose, so you've obviously used it lots and lots and lots of times. What would your advice be? Actually quite a difficult question to ask to answer, because it's very dependent on the child. And we found with Daniel that there were stages where we were able to loosen the straps and he was able to weight bear quite a lot, and there was times that we needed to tighten them back up again and take a bit more off his weight for him, because he wasn't maybe just weight bearing as well as what he would have been on previous occasions. To the asker of that question, I would maybe suggest that you send us a little video of your child in the Upsee, and we could maybe give you a wee bit of advice once we've seen that. The idea is that the child can take their own weight. If they need to, that they drop down into the harness when they need to kind of just rest a little bit, but they need to be not so far dropped down that they can't push back up again, so kind of not beyond their falling position, if that makes sense. So again, take a wee video. If you've just got a phone or whatever, take a wee video, drop it through to us on the email address. We'll take a little look at it and we can maybe give you some advice on your own child. Okay, so we're quickly running out of time, but we just want to try and answer a few more. So Clare Canale then, my son's leg movement is strong, but head control is very weak. Are there any activities that you would specifically recommend for this?
It's difficult to recommend specific activities without knowing an individual child. However, our section on head control should deal with this quite effectively, and of course you aren't limited to the activities or the participation suggestions that we make. You can, when you know your own child, you can tailor things to be very specific to your own child. What we do know from our physiotherapy colleagues is that leg movement and weight bearing can help stimulate head extension, which is really what we mean when we're talking about lifting the head up. So if you can combine the movement in a purposeful way with activities that your child enjoys and is interested in, perhaps raise the height of the activities up onto a table so that they are also encouraged to look up, you should start to find that they get more practice with that more easily.
Okay, so yes, I think we've covered off as many as we can, and for the moment, as many questions as we can. As I've said, please do, if your question hasn't been answered, please do get in touch with us on the upsee.program@fireflyfriends.com email address. So moving on then finally, this is just to put some faces to the Claires that you've been hearing from tonight. So from all three of us, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. Well, it's our evening here. And we hope that you'll continue to join us for our future webinars. This is the first of quite a few to come, hopefully. So once more, I've given the email address several times there, so if you need to know anything at all, please do just get in touch with us. We really love to hear from you all. So thank you and goodbye from all of the Claires here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.